Welcome back, Nostra fam. Dicko, round two, done and dusted. Mate, look, let's go through a quick recap here.
Round of upsets.
Round of upsets, indeed. We had what? The Warriors, Roosters, Rabbitohs.
Couldn't buy a
God,
tip.
unbelievable. Raiders. Far out. And then we thought, let's go for an upset on Sunday with the Titans. No chance. Anyways, not to worry, mate. Not to worry. Now, before we get into it, just a shout out to all our sponsors, Grip Socks, High Caliber Racing, Energy Pro, and Create. Thanks so much for your support this year, guys. Really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. Dicko, Knights and Dolphins, Thursday night, 26-12. It was the Kalen Ponga show, wasn't it?
Yep. So it was Kalen Ponga versus the Dolphins. Everything Newcastle did well, revolved and had Kalen's hands all over it.
Seriously, what a player. What a player.
Yeah, leading the race for the Queensland number one, although,
I'll go as far as to say that Reece Walsh has no chance.
Yeah,
no chance.
I
Did
probably
you hear Billy Slater talk about him recently?
Yeah, I probably agree with you. Provided Kalen obviously stays fit, I think he'll be there. Let's hope he stays fit because, a fit Kalen Ponga is just so much beneficial for the game, for rugby league.
A Dolphin shot.
NRL. I would have thought. I don't think they're shot. I don't know where the improvement's going to come from though. Like they've got their full strength side, so I don't. Well, most of their full strength side on the weekend, so I don't know where their improvement's going to come.
Now Friday night, upset city, really. Do you know what? I had a feeling about the Warriors, but seriously,
you couldn't tip against Manly. You could not tip against Manly.
The Panthers-Roosters game, I'm a Panthers fan. I'll go as far to say that that is the biggest upset in NRL history.
At the moment, yeah. I mean, of recent times,
like
that was I don't understand. Yeah,
not even Roosters fans. They would have been like, "Geez, I hope it's not 50."
They're paying $11.
Yeah, they lost Lindsay Collins midweek.
I don't understand how you can be so bad one week and then so good the next. And I said this, and I've said this to our mates. I've said this to you. The Roosters showed a couple of different ways that you can beat Penrith.
Yep, you got to go after it.
You got to go after it. You got to play some footy. You can't grind them. They're too good. You've got to risk it. You got to sort of narrow down and attack certain areas of their defense. Because their defense is so good, which I thought the Roosters did well. And yeah, I thought the Panthers were helped back. To be honest with you, I honestly thought the score flattered the Panthers, to be honest.
We got lucky at the end with the
and I don't think I think if the Panthers won the game, it wouldn't. I thought the Roosters deserved to win.
Roosters thoroughly deserved. Just like the Warriors and obviously key takes out of the Seagulls game, DCE and Turbo. Under a little bit of an injury cloud, however, they have been cleared. So
a serious injury, yep.
Yeah, but let's see what happens.
DCE with a back and Turbo with hamstring tightness is what they call it. So precaution, which is not great, but yeah, Warriors were great. Metcalf answered his critics on the night, and just as I tipped Manly. I did think Manly were going to win.
Yep,
couldn't not tip them after the week before, but I think we all had a gut feeling that if the Warriors came out and played some really good footy at home, they'd be good enough to win.
Now, moving on to Saturday, there was so many, we could go into great depth here, but we're just going to summarize. Otherwise, the conversation could get rather heated on one side of the spectrum. And on the other side, we could absolutely rip into a few teams and potentially praise others. I just want to apologise formally again for the second year in a row to Ricky Stewart and the Canberra Raiders. Every time we give them a spray, they go, "Here you go, Dizz, stick that up your jumper."
And just a shout out to Ricky. Actually, he must listen to the show. So thanks, Sticky, for listening.
Yeah, he definitely does. First game, Rabbitohs Dragons. How the Dragons didn't win that is baffling, but also a testament to Wayne Bennett and his team just never giving up, because they were second fiddle for most of that match and they somehow pulled out a result. Special mention goes to Humphreys again for stepping up safe to say that Lewis Dodd doesn't have a spot on the side. That's pretty clear, unfortunately. He gets suspended for one game, and now Humphries is there to stay. So it looks, and they've still got Latrell to come back.
And you remember last week how I sort of suggested that when Latrell comes back,
Mm.
they should keep Jai Gray. And the talk is now through all the media currently about, Latrell potentially coming back,
Well, Jai Gray's
in
got the
play
most
centre.
run meters in the comp,
Yep.
and by a country mile.
I heard Andrew Voss on SEN say that he thinks the best halves pairing for the Rabbitohs are Jack White at 5'8" and Cody Walker at 6, allowing
Mm.
Latrell to play centre and Jai Gray to stay at the back.
So what does that mean for Humphries?
Well, I mean, I think if you decide that you're gonna go with a White and Walker combination, he misses out. He probably plays in a 14 role because he's big enough to play in the
Question:
middle.
Can Campbell Graham play on the wing?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Here's a proposal
Yeah,
to
he'll
you.
be a massive aerial threat.
Jamie Humphries at half, Cody Walker at 6, Jack Whiten in one centre, Latrell Mitchell in the other, Jai Gray at the back, Campbell Graham on the wing.
On the wing. Yep. I mean, any of those combinations, I've got no issue with.
I just think defensively and kicking game wise, because Cody Walker can't kick, right?
Yep.
You don't really want to have Latrell being the kicker, although he could do a job. But if he's going to be the 6, he's going to be. But nowadays, 6 and 7 don't matter. Have a look at the Sharks: Braden Trindle, Nico Hines. Don't know what's going on there. 1 minute Nico's kicking, next minute he's not.
Mm.
But they seem to be role reversed a little bit. Trindle seems to be running the ship there.
Yeah.
But really promising for the Rabbitohs.
Absolutely. Like I didn't. I mean,
and the Dragons should be embarrassed, really.
Yeah, the Dragons are not having an issue scoring points. It's just conceding. They just can't. They can't defend well.
Now, aside from the other team being embarrassing, being the Broncos, the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're them.
Are they the wooden spoon favourites?
Oh, them in Parramatta at the moment. Absolutely. Like I didn't catch all of this game. I only caught the highlights. But I mean, they were never in the hunt, really. The Cowboys against the Sharks, were they?
Todd Payton's weeks are numbered.
Absolutely. He's under huge pressure. We're getting mail today that, and we'll talk about this when we preview their game against the Broncos, but some players will come back in that he dropped last week, which is just baffling. He's literally, it seems to me like he's literally flipping a coin and not really having a plan of what he wants to implement.
Well, what I think's
There's been some poor recruitment as well and retention.
Yeah. It's a reflection on Todd Payton, and you know what we're like, Dicko. We will call a spade a spade. It might ruffle people's feathers, but we're telling the truth here. Todd Payton, in our opinion, is maybe the problem here. And I know the players have a responsibility, but as the coach, after one game, you do not drop arguably your best attacking weapon in Jeremiah Nanai.
Well, considering that he wasn't the sole reason why they didn't defend well last week. Like that was the week before. That was baffling.
And then then recall them the next week.
Yeah, that's right. And then all the mail leads to that this week. Him being
because he's obviously gone, oh shit,
I've made a mistake.
Yeah, and instead of taking accountability himself, protecting the players, he's come out and swung the axe, trying to make them the scapegoat, which we spoke about last week, which is now reflected extremely poorly on himself because there's obviously, bigger things going on there. And yes, the players need to step up and take accountability, but when you're struggling, you got to pick the best side. And I'll go as far to say that the Eels in the same boat. Like they have Bryce Cartwright, Ryan Madison, Kelma Tuolangi playing New South Wales Cup. Now, their bench reeks. It smells. Smells of shit. It is rubbish. Like they are second fiddle. And on Sunday, they got absolutely destroyed by a team who isn't great. Absolutely destroyed. And was second fiddle to everything in effort, in execution, in run meters, in every single stat you can think of.
Yep.
In fact, the shining light, believe it or not, was kind of Zach Lomax for the Eels in a way. But to the in terms of statistics, but to the naked eye, we know that center's not his best position.
No.
And I think he's the only person in Australia that thinks that's the
Thanks,
case.
centers, yeah.
And I don't really know. It's almost like Jason Riles has gone, look, I'm going to do my own thing. And credit to him for doing his own thing and making these calls. But at some point, you need to actually get results. And you can't just go, well, I'm just happy to lose every game because I'm just going to try something. That's what it feels like. I'm just going to try something and give all these other guys a go because, I can afford to muck around for the first, 6 to 8 weeks to see where everyone's at.
Yep.
If he's not careful.
He's definitely still in a trial period, though. Like, I feel like he's still getting to know players. And as you said, there's gonna come a point in time where we're going to have to ask.
But is he going to piss
performing?
those players off who should be in the team, like Cartwright, Madison, Taulagi, to the point where they actually don't want to be at the club and then they cause toxicity amongst the rest of the playing group? Because this is what can happen.
Well, that's the great question. That's the unknown, isn't it?
We're about to find out. Now, Bulldogs, Titans. Look, the Titans, for how poor they played and how well the Bulldogs played, this scoreline should have been way bigger. Obviously, Matt Burton and Kikau, two big injury stories coming out of that. Seems like Kikau's a little bit more serious, sort of 4 to 6 weeks. Matt Burton, more of a 2 to 4 week situation, both MCLs. Apart from Tino, they were a little bit all over the shop. You could tell they were getting used to a new combination.
Yeah, and what I want to include this game in my summation of the Broncos Raiders games, because this is a game. This is a tale of one team turns up and one doesn't. Literally, this is what separated a win and a loss for both these games. Brisbane didn't turn up in Canberra.
First half an hour of both games.
First half an hour. The Titans didn't turn up at Belmore. Now, how the Titans didn't turn up when it's the first game of the season for them, I got no idea. And the Broncos not turning up after belting the Roosters the week before is just really ordinary leadership from their senior players. You got to get yourself up because you don't turn up on. Penrith didn't even turn up. I'm just going to call
them
it.
As well.
They didn't turn it up, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to call them out when they don't, because there's no excuse for effort, for running hard and tackling hard. The Titans, the Broncos, and the Panthers didn't do any of that.
And real quickly on the Panthers game, I think when they scored after 5 minutes and how easily they scored.
Yeah, let's put the feet up.
50 points easy.
Yep.
No problem.
Yep.
And by the time Roosters went, hello, credit to Roosters, they could have turned their toes up straight away and gone, oh, shit, we've just been pumped by, the Bronx last week. Penrith have basically strolled through our defence here. But, this is, I'm not going to go as far as to say a cultural thing, but you're 100% correct when you say the leaders of each of those clubs. Because Isaiah Yeo, worst performance I've ever seen him play. Nathan Cleary, one of the worst performances I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, and I mean, conversely, Broncos, Reece Walsh, I think he had 5 runs for the whole game.
Rubbish.
Payne was off. That much ball was dropped across all those 3 games.
Well, when your best players are Dean Mariner and Selwyn Cobbo.
Yeah, and one's a centre and one's a winger. You're in a bit of strife. But, all of those games were over, I really feel, in the first, as you said, 20 to 30 minutes. Before each Broncos turned up, it was 18-0, and before the Titans turned up, it was 16 or 18-0. So, a lot of lessons are learnt there for all, especially the Titans and the Broncos, and the Raiders and the Bulldogs are probably over the first 2 rounds are probably been the 2 most consistent. Well, they've won both games, but they've played the most consistent football, I think, those 2 teams, and really deserve where they are. Like the Raiders they just went out with a plan of, you know what, we're just going to run harder and tackle harder.
Yeah,
it was pretty much
effort.
It was pretty much Corey Horsburgh versus the Brisbane Pack, and he destroyed them single-handedly.
Yeah, well, I watched
that's embarrassing.
Footy last night with Teddy on there. And it's what happens within those 4 walls. Clearly, the Roosters, the Raiders, and the Bulldogs had an attention to detail around effort. And due to that effort and the lackluster, uh, put your feet up attitude, or you know, we got this in the bag mentality.
Mm.
Um, with the Titans, I have no idea what the situation was there. Like, they're playing at Belmore. It's the only game for the season for the Bulldogs there. You know they're going to be up for it.
Yeah.
Like, they were second fiddle badly.
Yeah.
And
Rubbish.
just simple fundamentals of footy, like kick, chase, pressure,
Line speed. I
line
mean,
speed. Yeah.
you can't coach any of that, right? That's just players' want and desire to actually be in a contest. So, yeah, I mean, massive question marks on a couple of teams after really good first up performances,
Mm.
and some interesting games this coming weekend.
Yeah, well, let's get stuck into it. Thursday night footy, Dicko, grand final rematch.
Yeah,
The
this is
Storm
this
versus
is
the
massive.
Panthers.
This is massive, mate. This is huge. I mean, I don't like to call out a game early on in the season, but I think this is a massive game.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. I think the Storm win this pretty comfortably. I don't think Penrith last even against the Sharks, with the Storm outfit and the professionalism that they have on a weekly basis, like, they never play bad ever. Um, Typically Penrith don't either. However, the issue that I have with Penrith, because I've heard some rumours floating around that the young winger is going to be dropped, Casey McLean, for Tom Jenkins, and Brad Snyder is getting added to the bench. Dylan Edwards is out for 2 to 3 weeks. That means Dane Laurie is going to come to fullback now. Blaze Talangi is going to stay in New South Wales Cup. I don't know about the Brad Schneider on the bench because Jack Cole's rumoured to keep his spot. Like, that just is weird. I just think, honestly, the Storm at home against Penrith, who got beaten by a Roosters side who are literally New South Wales Cup team, I can't see them bouncing back to even get close.
Okay, so this is really hard because you write Penrith off and they just pull your pants down. They have for
Mm,
the last sort of 5 years. They're
yeah.
paying three
Well, you
dollars
don't
for
normally see them play bad twice.
well in a head-to-head battle. They're paying $3.30. So that's the longest I've ever seen the Panthers in what five years of footy.
Mm.
So Melbourne overwhelmingly favourites and they deserve to be clearly. But what do I make of this game? This is really interesting. Penrith conceded the most points on the weekend they have in, I think, 5 years or 90 days or 90 games or something
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
don't think they've
Conceded that
conceded.
many points in a long time,
Yeah,
right?
and
So,
back to back for like 7
yeah,
years.
yeah. So, if the Melbourne put a score on them, when I say put a score on them, if Melbourne score 4 or 5 tries,
Mm,
I will start to then get a little concerned about where Penrith are at in terms of mentally and sort of physically. Are we starting to see the toll of a lot of games in a few years come to the fore?
mm.
So that's a really interesting watch. I will tip the Storm, but with zero confidence because I know we're going to get a bounce back from Penrith. They're too good, and I've said this to you. They're too good of a team not to bounce back. They're too good of a team for people to write them off. So
Well, this is going to say more about where Penrith are at as a club now than how well Melbourne are going.
again, this is going to, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
This is going to let us know where the Panthers are at
Because if
physically and
Penrith get
mentally.
beaten 24-6 or 30-6, you could almost go, yeah, they're probably going to struggle.
Well, you need to take 5 years of 30 plus games of NRL,
Mm,
right? Plus a Vegas trip at some point in time, and some of these guys have played like the Yos and that
mm,
90% of those games. At
mm.
some point in time, it's going to come back to bite them. You know,
Yeah,
so
I'm not so hung up on the fact that it's going to come back to bite them. I think it's more how, and they use the motivation of, oh, we got new players this season and whatever, and they haven't won a premiership before as their motivation. Now, I just think it's the reality of the salary cap
yeah, of course it
and
is.
bringing everyone back
Absolutely,
to the pack.
absolutely.
And the Storm have gotten stronger, and they played against. Now, I'm not. I'm not saying that Storm will smash Penrith. I just think that, and I'm really curious to see how bad Parramatta are, because let's not forget, in round one they played Parramatta, who the Tigers just pumped. So, is the Storm actually going to be that good this year? Like,
Yeah, right.
do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
no one's really seen the Storm play a decent side. So, you would like to think that Penrith show up and put in a solid performance and let's see what happens. Like, I didn't think they were going to beat Sharks in round one, and they did.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's interesting.
There's just a lot of factors at play. Like they don't have a
Mm.
home ground this year, the Panthers. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know,
that hurts.
I
Yeah, that
know,
hurts.
but they don't have the luxury of going to their stadium in Penrith where it's hostile and it's cold and
Yeah, you saw the atmosphere at the game on the
it's
weekend,
not
and
the
you thought
same,
this
is it?
is not
It's not the
great.
same. Like, I mean, you live in Sydney. Like, I don't know whether
Mm.
people from Penrith travel to Parramatta
No,
to watch. So
no,
yeah,
not
I
really.
don't know. This is a massive watch. Thursday night footy, 7 o'clock. It's going to be huge. It could be the game of the season in round three.
Yeah. Now Friday night footy on the other end. Look, two really interesting games. Warriors versus Roosters. Now,
Yeah, really interesting. I thought,
what team's going to show up for each side?
well, whoever shows up will win in this game.
It's in Auckland.
Yeah, I mean, I will tip the Warriors. I must
Yeah,
admit,
yeah.
but
Was what if the Warriors come out and pump the Roosters, right?
yep.
What is and let's say for instance the Storm beat Penrith quite convincingly. Like, I'd be gravely concerned for Penrith's chances of even finishing in the top eight, let alone.
No, no,
I'm
no,
serious. I
no.
am I am not as bullish as, and I
No.
haven't been this whole preseason,
Look,
the whole time.
just turn around, put your Panthers hat back on. It's all good. It's going to be okay.
I
No, the
don't know.
the Roosters. What we're going to see with the Roosters this season, because Trent Robertson is blooding a lot of young players, we're going to see some
Mm.
inconsistent performances, and probably games on the road they're going to get blown out in. So
Radley and Collins should be back.
wouldn't surprise me. I don't think that really makes a difference personally. It wouldn't
Mm.
surprise me if the Warriors win well here and the Roosters come out a little lethargic. I mean, we've got to remember how much did that win last week against Penrith take out of some of their younger players
Yeah, of course.
and still learning the ropes of the NRL and
And then
cracking
traveling to
up
New
each week.
Zealand.
Then you add travel
Yeah.
on top of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Most of those players wouldn't have had to do that.
no. So I'm
Yeah.
going to tip the Warriors in this one. I think they'll win not easily, but I think they'll win comfortably.
Yeah. Now, this next game,
Yeah, this is
Broncos Cowboys.
the Queensland Derby, mate. How good is it?
This Look, traditionally in the past, these games have been relatively close, right? And I know you're probably thinking in your head that this is probably going to be closer than a lot of other people think.
It will be close.
I honestly would not surprise me if Maguire gets so deep inside some of these Broncos players' minds that they come out and win 60-10.
Oh,
Like, the Broncos have that in them, and the Cowboys have got sweet FA this season. Absolutely nothing.
mate, I'm honestly looking at the game here, and some of these head-to-head odds are just baffling in some of these games. Like Brisbane after last week of $1.16. I mean, please. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Look, the
I
Cowboys
mean,
are rubbish. Unless they have an absolute... Mind you, I hear Duffy's
Duffy's gone for
gone,
Clifford potentially, and
Taumalolo, and then I come back. So that is a
yeah,
big difference.
yeah. So we are recording today before the team lists, just
Yep.
for different circumstances today. So we don't actually know the teams, but we've got word that Talmalolo and Nanai will be back, and Duffy will be dropped for Clifford. And on the Broncos side, we're getting some word that Jasewski's out and Piakura will come in and start. So look, I'm going to put it down to if Brisbane are fair income about this season, they've got to put the Cowboys away here. No questions asked. I don't care how it's done. I don't care what the score is. As long as they win, I don't care. It's irrelevant the score as long as they win. They just got to win.
Yep.
They got to win. And if the Cowboys are fair income about making something of this season, they've got to find a way to. Well, it's got to be close, or they've got to find a way to win at the death.
Well, they're in a bit of a pickle, right? And we've put something on our socials essentially saying that Todd Payton's got until round 6
Mm.
to prove himself. Now he plays the Broncos, then he plays the Raiders. Uh, they play the Panthers,
Yeah, they've got an awful start to the season.
and then they play the Rabbitohs. Right? They could literally be 0-6,
Mm.
realistically. Um, oh, if they get belted again, the noise is going to be that loud.
Mm.
It's not funny,
Yeah,
and
and you're gonna
I don't feel sorry for him because
no, because he's done this himself. Because he's the
well,
one.
last year
It's
they
his
came out
squad.
humming.
Well, it's his squad. This is his
Yeah.
squad. Don't forget, he made the decision not to offer Valentine Holmes a contract. He
Yep.
made the decision for this to let Chad Townsend move on. This
Reese
was
Robson
Reese
next season.
Robson next season.
Yep.
This is him, right? So this is on him.
Yep. Yep.
All right. And on the Broncos side of it, let's see what response some of their players had. As I said to you, Walsh, worst game I've ever seen him play. Adam Reynolds was poor. Payne Haas, Paddy Carrigan were manhandled
Mm.
by one player. So let's see what team first Broncos home game of the season in round 3, mind you. I don't think, as long as I know, I don't think Brisbane have ever started with 2 away games.
Yeah.
So they're going to be
Don't
up
get
for
too
this.
disheartened, mate. I think they play 8 of the next 10 at home. I think you'll be right.
Well, it's about time.
All right, Saturday footy. Actually, shout out to Corey Horsburgh last week.
Yeah, so on last week alone, I've got him in my game 1 Queensland Origin side. I think
Oh,
he's exactly what we need as Queenslanders.
for sure. Now, this one, I'm looking at the odds of this game,
Mm.
thinking the
Yeah,
Rabbitohs.
I know.
Like,
Oh,
the Sharks, to me, haven't been that impressive.
well, I wouldn't mind giving the
They
Rabbitohs a bit
lost
of a
to
nudge.
Penrith, who I think aren't that great this season.
Yeah.
Then they beat the Cowboys. But to be fair, the Cowboys were so bad, and the Sharks only really just put them away at the start of that second half on the back of some really mediocre Cowboys efforts.
Mm.
They should have beaten the Cowboys last week by lots.
Yeah.
Like it was 36-12. Like it
Yep.
wasn't like a crazy scoreline.
Yep.
And on the other hand, you've got the Rabbitohs who have been written off the first 2 weeks, who have come out and won both games.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, fair enough. I think they won the first week by 2 and the next week by 1.
Yep.
But that's a winning culture.
Mm.
And when you've got a winning culture, it's very hard to lose that.
Mm.
So I think this game will be closer than a lot of people think.
Absolutely, I think it's going to be close. You got a team that's match hardened in the Rabbitohs are grinding out good victories, and you got the Sharks who have been over to Vegas, had a tough game against Penrith, gave the Cowboys a bit of a hiding. They're back at home this week, which gives them they are very hard to beat at home generally.
Yeah.
Very hostile crowd there at Sharks
in amongst
Stadium.
all that scaffolding.
Yeah, and those buildings that are taking forever to be completed. So yeah, this for a lot of people, I mean the head to head is just baffling in terms of the sports bet head to head, but yeah, people will flip a coin in this one. I'm not so sure. If I gave a tip now without, as I said, looking at the teams, I would just tip the Sharks purely on the basis they are at home and they are generally hard to beat at home.
If the Sharks were away, I
would
be
probably
inclined to
tip
go
the
for an upset.
Rabbitohs. Yeah, I would probably tip the Rabbitohs, honestly, just for the way they're playing. They're grinding it out. They're hanging in there. Yeah. But
Now, I'm keen for the next 2 games. The next 2 games are very interesting.
God, I tell you what, there's some good games this weekend, isn't there?
Dolphins, Tigers. Now, odds suggest that the Dolphins are favourites here. I don't know about that. Somehow. Because they're at home, like, seriously. Dolphins home ground, I wouldn't say is anything to get excited about in terms of fortress. And then obviously the Titans versus the Knights. But if we look at the Dolphins, Tigers, Dicko.
Yep.
Yes, fair enough. The Tigers lost in round 1. I thought their performance was pretty admirable, considering they played the Knights, who arguably were like quite impressive, I thought, against the Dolphins last week. And the fact that they only just lost that game without Appy Coruscant and Jareem Buller was a gallant effort. Now, Jareem Buller's been pictured in a moon boot, so I don't know if he's going to be fit for this weekend. Although Heath Mason did a fantastic job in round 1, and he'll come in and do another good job again if he's required. The Dolphins, on the other hand, have been super disappointing
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
seem really one-dimensional. Hammer looks lost. In fact, their best player's actually been player who sort of let them down a little bit last year in Katoa. I think he's been steering the ship unbelievable. And
Their defense has been very ordinary.
yeah, very poor. And the Tigers will have their tails up. They were allowed to run riot against Parramatta.
Yeah.
And they're a young team, enthusiastic team who feed off that confidence typically.
Mm. Mm.
And I think they'll beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I like your sort of summation there of this game. And I agree with everything you said. It's funny we're into round 3 and we're saying that there's some must win games for the teams for some teams. And this is a must win for the Dolphins. They don't win here. The calls around, Wayne Bennett leaving. This is what's happened. All the teams that Bennett's left have gone
Well,
rubbish.
it's a 3-horse race between them, Cowboys, and the Eels for the wooden spoon, isn't it?
Yeah, right. So, the Tigers, you said young, confidence is now up. They played well in the second half. They had a bit of free flowing and looked like they were having a great time. There were smiles on faces, something that I haven't seen for 4 or 5 years from the Tigers players. So
Yeah.
they'll be better again. That combination, Luai Galvin is building, Coruscant's in. What you will get from a young team, though, as I said before with the Roosters, is you'll get performances where they're up
Yes.
and when they're down. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this could be one of them. I'm not sure. With this one, I honestly don't know, mate.
Look, you tipped the Dolphins last week.
Yeah. And I did
know-
text you and I actually said I'm never tipping the Dolphins again. So I'm going the Tigers. Come on, the Tigers.
Oh, dear. Lock in the Tigers. Now, this next one, Dicko.
I mean, how many games are there where we just don't know?
I think your confidence plays a big part. Our tipping confidence is right down the gurgler.
Yeah, I'm in all sorts.
I'm pretty sure we're at the bottom of every comp we're in. So we're off to
Mate, you're not supposed to tell anyone.
Titans Knights. Now, this is at the Gold Coast. I honestly don't know where to go with this game.
I do.
You give it to us.
I'm going to tip the Titans because if you look at Newcastle, they're a one-man team in attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their opposition for the first 2 weeks haven't been great.
I think Leo Thompson is also injured.
Yeah. So their opposition hasn't been great. They played the Tigers and they played the Dolphins.
Yep.
Right? I don't think the Tigers were great in the first game and the Dolphins were poor. So, and as you said, when we sort of summed up the Titans Bulldogs, the Titans didn't play well, but there was a moment in time where they were still in the game.
They got so many attacking weapons and upside in their team between Keanu Keeney, AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, Tino, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Bo Fermor, David Fafita, Mo Fodawaker, Sami, Alofi Khan Pereira. Like all these players, Brian Kelly, like Jojo Fafita, like they've all capable. And I've just literally named the whole team.
Yeah, so I mean, if they get it right,
even Verrills looked good.
Yeah, and if they get it right, mate, they can. I reckon they will just have too many weapons for the Knights. So I'm actually pretty bullish on the Titans in this game, and I don't like tipping the Titans at the best of times because they just rip your heart out when you tip them. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this will be a step up in class in terms of performance from the Knights.
Yep.
And it's in the Gold Coast. They're playing at home, the Titans. I can see them winning this.
Mate, I'm going to double down and say lock in the Titans and still really adamant that they will finish guaranteed top 8.
Well, you have to lock it down, mate. You got them in the 8. I've got them no chance. But anyway, let's move on.
Now, this one is very... I feel a little bit more confident about this. But
I mean, although Matt Burton and Viliami Kikau are out.
Yeah, look, we're going to have the sloth, Drew Hutchinson, probably make a return here for the Bulldogs. However, I don't know. Oh, you've stumped me a little bit now.
No, I still think the Bulldogs will win. I still think the Bulldogs will win, but I don't think it's
I
going
just
to
want to
be.
see the Eels show a bit of ticker.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a lay down in the the 5'8", everything. The kicking game of Matt Burton's pivotal. Their left edge and Kickow and Burton is really solid in
Mm,
attack and defense. They're not going to have that. This would have to be one of the only times that I think Burton hasn't played since he's
yeah.
gone to the Dogs. So
I
how are
want
they
to
going to
see
handle
when
it?
team lists come out. I want to see Jason Riles name the best side he possibly can to give them a chance and their fans a chance.
Mm,
Because we have Parramatta followers left, right, and centre on our page.
mm,
They are a dominant force, and I actually feel sorry for them a little bit because they have given no hope, like literally no hope. They have no confidence in their team whatsoever,
yep.
and no confidence in Riles whatsoever. And there's players playing out of position. There's players, we brought up already in New South Wales Cup that probably should be in the side, who were arguably some of their best players last season, who sort of helped them out of that slump and avoid that wooden spoon last year. They've moved on Clint Gutherson. Iongi actually has been
Yeah,
okay.
he's been a standout, I think, Iongi, for them.
And Josh Addo-Carr's still to come back, of course. I don't know when his suspension finishes. I think it's
Yeah,
this week, maybe.
I'm not sure.
But I just would like to see. You don't want to see a side beaten before the game starts. I feel like them, and I know it firsthand from being a professional sports person myself. When the coach names a side that you know yourself can't win a game or are going to really struggle to win a game, you've sort of already lost that mojo or level to be upbeat before the game's already started.
Mm-hmm.
At least if he names the strongest possible side,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the squad goes, all right, well, this is the best we've got. So
Yep. Yep.
rather than, oh shit, like,
Yeah.
some of our best players aren't even playing the
Yeah,
game.
let's not lose the game in the selection table. Let's get that right.
In saying that, I do think the Bulldogs are going to win, but
Yeah.
now that you've mentioned the Kickout and Burton factor,
This is
they
sort of
are
an unknown.
huge.
Yeah.
They are huge. The
Yeah.
kicking game of Matt Burton is massive,
Yeah.
and the kick pressure
Kick
of
out.
Viliami Kickout,
Yeah.
he's always leading the chase on
Yep.
kick pressure.
Yep.
Always.
And they always go to him in yardage, spreading out wide.
Yeah. So Jamin Salmon's not going to give you that.
No.
And that's who's going to play there.
No. Well, either him
Probably.
or Tupanua.
Or Tupanua. Yeah, or Tupanua.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, let's no, you know what, Dicko? Let's lock in the Eels. The Eels are going to be the upset of the week.
I tell you what, you will move up considerably in the tipping comp if you get the Eels. Because
the
no
Eels
one's
are the
backing
upset
them.
of the week.
No one's backing
them.
them.
There you go. Lock
No one
it in.
is
Dizz is
backing
upset of the week. A new segment. Yeah, good. All right. And then to finish off, Dicko, Seagulls versus the Raiders. Now, this is tough because we don't know if DCE or Turbo are going to play.
I would say they're at long odds. If I was the coach, you might. DC is a lower back spasm, so you might play him if he says he's good. You'd trust him.
Yep.
There is no way I would be playing Tom Trbojevic this week.
Now, you said in preseason, without Turbo, they're no chance.
There are no chance.
Are you locking in the Raiders if Turbo's not playing?
The Raiders, if Turbo is not playing, the Raiders will win this game. It's as simple as that.
Lock it in. So the tip is based upon whether Turbo plays or not.
Yeah, pretty much the same as what the Newcastle tip is. Ponga plays, they're a chance. If he doesn't, they're rubbish.
So you're locking in the Raid, like officially locking in the Raiders if Turbo's not playing, and then locking in Manly if Turbo's playing.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is at Brookie though, or 4 Pines Park as they call it now. So
yes,
week 1, that was absolutely humming that joint.
Oh yeah.
So if they get a roll on,
they've got a long turnaround.
Yeah, and if they get a roll on, Manly, and that was a really physical game last week. So the Raiders have played physical as well. If they get a roll on the Seagulls at home, they'll be tough. But I just think the Raiders are playing with so much confidence at the moment. They're believing in the coach, the system. I can't understand how they're outsiders in this game. according to Sportsbet.
Do you know what? Even if they did have Turbo and DC, I'd be
I would still have
inclined
the
to
Raiders favourite. I would honestly
go for the Raiders.
yeah, on current form. I mean, they towed up the Warriors and then they towed up the Broncos.
Yeah, and towed up's the right
I
word.
mean, what else do you need to see from them? Like,
Yeah, I know. So I mean, I don't even know what to say because I thought they were going to be horrendous again this season. And I think most people did when you look at their squad. But credit where credit's due.
now we've wrapped up the games, and I hadn't told you this at the start of when we were talking about what we're going to talk about today, but I want to bring everyone's attention to kick pressure on kickers. It is fast becoming. I actually think the bunker and the referees have got the obstruction rule okay at the moment. I'm actually liking awarding tries that are, is he obstructed? Isn't he? You know what? If he takes a dive, who gives a shit? We're just gonna award it. I like that. But for crying out loud, if I see another kicker touched and then collapse in a heap, and the referee blow a penalty,
what's the rule?
Mate, honestly, I don't actually know. I feel like you just literally can't put kick pressure on anymore, and
you can't touch them at all.
And
by
it's
the looks of it,
exactly. And like, what's it coming to? Like, I've seen instances on the weekend where player grabs a player in the air. AJ Brimson grabbed Toby Sexton in the air, was stopping him from falling, and Sexton dived like some sort of English Premier League soccer player and gets the penalty. He wasn't put in a dangerous position. The duty of care was the defender. He had the duty of care. Why are we penalising this? Like, can we go back, please, and allow players to put some semblance of kick pressure on kickers?
Yeah, look, a lot of elements the Bunker's got right. This is obviously Dicko's gripe of the week.
It's just becoming really frustrating that you can't actually pressure a kicker. Like, he knows he's not going to be hit. And then when he is touched, he dives like some sort of soccer player. And it's honestly becoming very ordinary to watch.
Now, I'll tell you Dizz's gripe of the week. And I just want you to tell me straight out what your thoughts are on this, if you got a glimpse of it. The Jason Saab try and the Daly Cherry Evans try, were they tries? Where Ruben Garrick flicked the ball back and where Jason Saab, in my opinion, lost the ball. Grounding.
Was that the Ruben Garrick, was he out on the dead ball line? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I thought that was a try.
You thought it was a try?
Yep.
Okay, so you didn't think he was out?
No. From the angle that I saw, I didn't think he was out. And the Jason Saab one, if you played in real speed, I thought he scored.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair. That's all I wanted to know. Just wanted to ask you straight out.
Because I reckon if you looked at 100 tries over the season and you slowed them down at grounding, I reckon you would find, you would dead set probably think 50% of them aren't tries when in real time they look like a try.
Did they both go up tries?
Yeah, great question. I off the top of my head, mate, I can't tell you.
Because I'm curious to know that and go back and look at some of that footage.
So if they go up as tries, I don't think there's enough evidence for overturn them. But if they go up as a no try, same thing. There shouldn't have been enough evidence for them to overturn it to award a try.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, at least we're consistent at being inconsistent. That's what we want to see. Oh, that wraps up another week, Dicko. Looking forward to round 3. Hopefully we get some tips on the board. Come on, the Eels. Cause an upset.
Come on, Tigers.